What's up, everybody? This is Raptors postgame. I'm J.D. Bunkis, here with Donnovan Bennett. I just had a horrible moment. The Raptors win. Raptors cruise to a victory. Wasn't even close. Like from the opening jump. Raptors held the Pacers to what? 14 points in the fourth quarter on 22% shooting. It was a blowout right from the tip. Pacers played last night. They played the Warriors. They burnt out. They had nothing for the Raptors here. Drake in the house. Good crowd. Glad people came out. You know how you tell people to get out of here? You say to people, get out of here with that. Get out of here with that.
If you're a baseball umpire, sure.
No.
But other than that, I'm not really sure.
It's like,
how many walks of life
so
are you telling people to get out of here?
Our producer, Papa, is trying to tell me about how much better the Western Conference is than the Eastern Conference. Like top to bottom, take out the top teams. Because clearly Golden State is the best team, and there's probably a pretty good case that the Rockets are the second best team. Or the best, depending on how you feel. And then he tried to sell me on how many teams in the West are better than the Eastern Conference teams. And so I said, get out of here with that. But as I yelled, get out of here with that, I opened the door, and the cleaning lady was in here finishing up her work. And I just screamed, get out of here. And she looks at me with just complete confusion and is obviously upset. And I have to pull the, like, it's not you. But she probably doesn't believe that. She probably just thinks that, I don't even know what she thinks. I felt horrible. I need to buy that lady a big time gift. Like, I don't know how to make amends. I thought about going and hugging her and like saying, please don't go to HR for me yelling at you and saying, get out of here. But please, if she's watching this web stream on her cell phone saying, who is this jerk? Who is that guy? I apologize. I apologize for yelling that.
I think the term is custodial engineer.
Yeah, custodian. You can't see the second part of that.
And have you been watching the NBA this year? Like, what do you mean the East isn't better than the West?
Who's the team in the
Clippers,
Western Conference that you would pick to beat in a playoff series against the 76ers? How many teams would there be? Like if you took the let's take the top two teams out because we believe that they're the Raptors and the Cavs. Let's go scratch out the two top teams from both conferences and go the rest 2 through 8 in the playoffs and tell me, or sorry, 3 through 8 in the playoffs and tell me who's better. Which teams you pick?
I just know that the Clippers are 10th in the West, and they would be...
The Clippers stink. The Clippers are the most overrated team in the history of anything. And the reason that they're 10th and the reason that they're even close to things is because they, like, yes, the drop-off in the East is worse. The bottom trash, the trash of the trash, the Orlandos, those are...
You mean depth? Is that what you're referring to?
I'm just telling you that 3 through 8 in the Eastern Conference, it's just as good as the Western Conference this year.
1-888-666-0590, star 590, or hashtag SNRaps. Tweet us, weigh in on this, which is evidently what we're going to talk about. It comes out as a surprise. We will get to the game. There wasn't much of a game for most of the game, but I mean, let's just go through it. Toronto, the 1 seed versus the 1 seed in the West.
No, I just said take the top 2 seeds out because the argument is about the rest.
So it's 2-0 West. We're going to 3. Philly.
That's rude, considering Toronto just beat Houston Friday night. They smacked them.
You're saying Philly would beat Portland. Okay.
I would say that. I would say lots of teams could beat Portland from the East.
2-1. 4 Utah. 4 Cleveland.
Yeah, you know what that's all about.
2-2. 5 San Antonio. 5 Indiana.
3-2 West.
Thank you.
But it's close.
I don't know.
The Spurs stink. The Spurs have an odor to them.
They had a guy who's in the MVP race not play all year.
Yeah, and that's why they stink.
Well, but he could come back.
He will not. His teammates are calling him out publicly. Tony Parker, Spurs legend, Hall of Famer, is saying my ankle was 1,000,000 times worse than yours. And that you don't come back when your teammates yell that kind of stuff at you. But I'll give you 3-2.
Miami, Oklahoma City. 4-2. 4-2. 4-2.
Fine.
7, Milwaukee, New Orleans.
Milwaukee.
I'll give you that. I'm not even sure if that's true.
Tell me who the second best player is right now on New Orleans.
Well, the best player could be better than the best player on Milwaukee.
I'm just saying.
They're
who's the 4th best player right now on the New Orleans Pelicans?
They don't have one.
They don't have one. They do not have one.
Yeah, but guess what? They got more wins than Milwaukee.
Yeah, they do. Because the East is tougher. Because the East is
please.
tougher.
8, Washington, Minnesota. Minnesota. So what was that? 5-3?
Washington loses to Minnesota in a series? I don't think so. I think it's 4-4. I think it's all even. My point is, the whole reason that we were having this discussion.
Tell me who the 4th best player is on Washington.
I would say that the 4th best player on Washington is either Morris or Satoransky. They've got a bunch of guys, man. They're good. Like Washington is decent. That Washington in a playoff series is going to be a tough out because they have 7 dudes who can play.
Minnesota was 3/4, and then Jimmy Butler was hurt. Minnesota's a really good team.
You know why they're 3/4 and why they like go up and down?
Because the West is super tough.
No, because it's crap, and all the crap teams are all crapping on each other, and they're all moving all around.
Couldn't you say that about the East?
Yeah, I could right now.
Well, let's put it. I mean, we can just end this conversation right now.
The whole NBA is crap.
What conference has a better record against the other, and it's not that close?
Yeah, again, the trash is weighing everybody down. Meanwhile, the Raptors are beating the Rockets.
We're talking about cross-conference games, so it can't be trash weighing each other down.
Here's the thing. Let's get back to the whole reason we brought this up. So tonight, the Raptors' biggest result was not clinching a record. Congratulations on 57 wins to Toronto Raptors. Congratulations for first place in the Eastern Conference. Baby, we done it. Actually, that's kind of expired now because that's a Conor McGregor thing, so that's a little out. The baby, we done it. But here's the downside to the congratulations. You mentioned it. Like, I'll just set you up for it. Of course, they finished first. And the Cavaliers tonight, after trailing the 76ers by 100 at halftime, giving up 1,000,000 points at halftime, do the Cavs thing that they did against the Raptors, that they did last night against the Wizards, where they just say, listen, no lead is safe because we have LeBron James and a bunch of three-point shooters. So we're going to shoot our way back into this ball game. They make it a one-possession game. Robert Covington fouls LeBron James shooting a 3 when the Cavs are down 3 with 1.8 seconds left. What happens? LeBron, because that's his one thing that he's not the best on the planet at, misses a free throw. And then intentionally misses the third, which sets up Larry Nance. He gets the ball. You say, just put it in, Larry. We're going to overtime. The Raptors have a chance to not face the Cleveland Cavaliers in round 2. Just tap it in. He bricks it. Sixers win. They get the tiebreaker with the Cavs. And now it looks as though, unless you believe in the Bucks, to beat the Sixers, but the Sixers now control their destiny in terms of finishing in 3rd place, which would mean, you guessed it, a round 2 matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers, which, as you put it during our pregame show or during our prep.
This is our pregame show.
This is where you take it. What did you say to me?
So Raptors.
So Raptors.
Like, I feel like the Raptors franchise, the proverbial song is Jadakiss, we gon' make it. Like, we gon' make it. We gon' make it. Doom, doom, doom. Great beat. I just murdered it, but it's a great beat. Didn't do it justice whatsoever.
You really did. So that was cool.
There are so many touchstone moments. Oh, my goodness. Vince and AI going 50-50. We could beat the Sixers, go to the finals. We gonna make it. Oh, wait, he's going to his graduation? Oh, it's fine. We've got the 1st overall pick. We were going to have a transformational player. Wait, this draft sucks, and Andrea Bargnani is at the top of the draft?
I'm just missing on LaMarcus Aldridge.
Yeah, but even LaMarcus Aldridge is like...
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's not a franchise changer.
No, you're not selling... Aldridge
although he's on your favorite team, the Spurs, who 100% are winning playoff series. But go on.
They're just better than most of the East. And then now, finally, we got a number 1 overall seed.
They did it.
Like, we can burn those Atlantic Division banners, just have them all come down and put up a Eastern Conference regular season pennant banner, which is not even really a thing. I just want those Atlantic Division banners down like ASAP. Finally, we've done it. We've earned the right for home court throughout the East. We've earned the right to have the easiest path. Oh, wait, what? In 3.5 weeks, we have to play LeBron?
Yeah.
It's like, we gonna make it. And then the record scratches.
Yeah.
And you come back to
reality. They did not make it. That's what it goes to, the narrator voice.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Yeah. All right. I'll say this, though. Raptors played an incredible first quarter tonight. Really, it was just about as good as they could play. And I know that the Pacers, and I want to get to some of the tweets. Again, tweet at J.D. Bunkis, at Donnovan Bennett. Use the hashtag SNReps. It jumps you to the top of the queue. It's just the way that it is. We take the best questions with the hashtag SNReps on them. But I saw a couple of things of, was this though more so the Pacers being dead tired or the Raptors being this good all of a sudden? And I think it was a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B because the Raptors look great. And I want to talk about Serge Ibaka again, who is now, as you called him,
playoff Baka. He's ready for the playoffs.
He's looking pretty good.
Posted
Serge Ibaka
in the lane.
Serge Ibaka
is the best 3-point shooter in the Eastern Conference.
Well, we'll talk about CJ Miles on the show as well.
Is the worst 3-point shooter in the Eastern Conference.
And what CJ Miles is today, as of today, your confidence level in CJ Miles, what his role is as of right now. But yes, franchise record 57th win.
CJ millimeters right
now. The Raptors are excellent. But I got this tweet. I want to start with this one. Drew Niebel, at the Niebler. I noticed the Raptors are the only team in the NBA to never lose more than 2 games in a row. Useless stat, a reflection of the culture change. Will these adjustments prove successful in the playoffs? I don't know if that's more like that's just a good team. Like that's just a really good team. I don't think that that's necessarily I don't think it's a useless stat. Let's put it that way. This is a Tim and Sidism, right? Useless stat or affliction of the culture change. I think it is a sign of the culture change. They're a really good team and they're a deep team and they're a regular season team. As of right now, they're a regular season team. I'm sorry. Until they get it down in the postseason, that's the way it is. You got a deep bench. You got 12 guys who can play. You're a regular season team. And I think that's the biggest reason that they didn't lose more than 2 games in a row because they were constantly throwing out 12 players that were better than the other team's 12 players. When the other teams went into benches and didn't play their starters in playoff minutes, that's the result you get, is that it's hard to beat the Raptors in 2 or 3 games when they have that type of bench. I just don't think that it's something that like necessarily has to do the cultural reset or what the intention was. I think it has to. That's Masai Ujiri just drafting extremely well and finding diamonds in the rough.
I think the key thing you said there is they're a good team.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they've only lost 22 games. So out of an 82-game season, I'm not a mathematician, but chances are you're not going to lose more than 3 of them in a row when you're winning the vast majority of them. Most 60-win teams, and there's still a shot if they run the table to get 60, most 60-win teams don't get to 60 by having a stretch where you lose 3 in a row. And the other thing, and this is key, and knock on some wood.
I don't know if that's wood.
I'm not sure either, but I just broke my knuckle. They haven't had major injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Like they haven't had a stretch like the Warriors have multiple times or like Philly has multiple times where some of their big key guys have been out for 3 or more games. And I think that's another reason why you get off the bus every night and you think you have a chance to win.
The worst injury the Raptors had this year was to OG Anunoby. Like what injury was worse than that when he missed a couple of weeks?
Norm hip pointer. But yeah, no.
Yeah, Norm... I mean, I guess it's a horrible injury because it might have ended his career. But other than that, in terms of, you're right, meaningful injury, they really didn't have one. The Raptors never had anybody go out for an extended period of time. CJ Miles had some dental work.
Yeah, Serge had some knee soreness, and Jonas had an ankle sprain.
Didn't even keep him out for 2 games.
DeLon Wright had a couple small things.
Actually, DeLon Wright, shoulder. We all thought DeLon Wright's season was going to be over at one point. He got his shoulder going up for a rebound, locked it in with Boogie Cousins, and we thought his year was done. He ran to the tunnel. We all showed the Jakob Poeltl video of him looking so sad, losing his point guard, but he turned out to be all right as well. I want to get to this tweet. At Mike Kuna, Mike_Kuna, says, do you think the Cavs tank to 4th so they can align with the Raptors in the second round? I'm worried the Cavs have mentally messed with the Raptors' heads. So, Mike, I don't think that's the case. Honestly, I would have thought that was the case before the Kyrie Irving injury news, that maybe LeBron James would say, hey, I can get a first-round matchup against the Indiana Pacers, who I think are the worst team in the Eastern Conference. Like, if you had to pick a team to face in the East, round 1, would you pick the Pacers?
Yes.
Yeah, same. They've got the least things that scare me. Depot is a good player. He's had a great season. but he's not someone that terrifies me in a playoff series. I'm not worried about Victor Oladipo stealing 4 games from me. I'm sorry. Miles Turner,
Did you
nice
just call
player.
him Depot?
Yeah.
Are you like friends with him or something?
I mean, kind of.
Is that I just didn't know that
I don't
was
think he would say
a readily used nickname for him. That's like something that you abbreviate in a text when you're his boy. Yo, Depot, meet me at the spot.
Listen, we're tight like that. You don't know about me and Depot's
Does
relationship.
he just hit you up? I got you, Bunk.
He does.
Okay.
Most people do call me Bunk.
Okay.
But back to the point at hand. I don't see Miles Turner turning around a playoff series. What else did you see on the floor tonight for the Pacers? Darren Collison, Corey Joseph, that backcourt puts the fear of God in you. If I'm LeBron James, I'm looking at it and saying, I would like to feast on that in 4 games and then take some rest. I've had an arduous season. I've had to carry this terrible Cavaliers team on my back through the entire year. I would like to take that series off. You know what? Kevin Love, you can beat this team. You can take this bunch of bums and you can beat that Pacers team, Kevin Love. Then he looks at the second round and says, would I rather play Brad Stevens, his deep team, a bunch of wing players that they're going to throw at me time after time? I got to go through Jaylen Brown. I got to deal with Morris fouling me hard. I got to deal with Kyrie getting buckets. Maybe I'll pass on that. I'd rather face the Raptors team that I've beat up on a bunch of time. Kyrie out changes the entire equation.
Are the Celtics that deep, though?
I think the Celtics at the wing are pretty deep. I think that the Celtics have a bunch of guys that all can kind of give you. I've said this before. I don't think one thing works on LeBron. I don't think that there's one LeBron stopper in the entire NBA. There's no guy that defensively I look at and say, bring him on, put him on LeBron James for 42 minutes tonight, and the result is going to be good. There's no Ruben Patterson, the Kobe stopper. That doesn't exist for LeBron James. There just isn't anyone that can do it. I think you've mentioned it before. Kevin Durant looks the best on him, I think, out of anyone in the entire association. But you can't, it takes a lot to defend LeBron for an entire game, and not even Kevin Durant can do it. So I think what the Celtics have compared to the Raptors, throwing Jaylen Brown out there, who right now is a better wing defender than anybody Toronto has, unless you're going to count Siakam, who's a 4. I think Jason Tatum, just with his length, gives you a couple of minutes there. I think that you can body him up and annoy him with a bulldog like Marcus Smart for a few minutes. I like the guys. Again, I like Morris. I think Morris is a badass who's not going to be afraid to foul LeBron James in close and be able to defend him outside. I think Al Horford is the same thing. I've said many times to you. We disagree on it, but I think Al Horford right now is the defensive player of the year. So, yeah, I think that the Celtics defensively present a lot more problems to LeBron James right now. And I think that if he was looking at Kyrie and saying, who's going to go bucket for bucket with me late, the Celtics would have presented potentially a scarier option, especially with the whole Kyrie narrative. I would have said, yeah, let's push them as far back as we can. But now that Kyrie's out, that's the thing. Boston is now relying on a rookie in Jason Tatum, who's had an incredible year. If it was any other year, you'd be looking at him and saying, how is he not rookie of the year? But you're relying on him to be your clutch crunch time scorer. I don't think that outweighs what the Raptors are. I think LeBron has enough respect for the Raptors' depth and has enough respect for Lowry and DeRozan, even if not everyone else in the association has it from time to time, that he wouldn't want to tank. He wouldn't be thinking, let's lose games to align ourselves with the Raptors in round 2. I think that the Celtics are now a prize.
Yeah, I think the Sharks are circling around the Celtics. I don't think any other team, whether it's Indiana, Miami, I don't think any of those other teams outside of Philly and Toronto.
Scared the Cavs?
I don't even think they're reading the schedule.
I think the Wizards actually would give them a little bit of a handful. Really, I do. Because I said before, I think the Wizards go 7 deep. And I think they've got really, they don't go any deeper than that. But the 7 guys they've got are all really good. I like Oubre. I like Satoransky. I like Morris. I like Wall. I don't believe in the whole they're worse with Wall, even though he had that terrible stretch last night where he cost them that game against the Cavs, where he just took a bad shot against LeBron James and then turned the ball over right after. But I still think that they would be you're right, they'd be the 3rd overall pick for me out of the teams that could challenge the Cavs in the East.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with John Wall's hair. Like, the analytics post new hairstyle or not.
It's not a good hairstyle. It's this kind of same one that Miles Turner had going on tonight. I got a question for you quickly. Do you think that it's any disadvantage to the Raptors that now that they've got the 1 seed locked up, that there's 3 teams that could all fall into 8th and you don't really get to scheme or start thinking about who it's going to be yet?
Yeah, I don't think it's ideal. Like I guess now they've moved up a spot, but I'm sure Philly has been doing advanced scouting on the Pacers for a month and a half because it seemed like they were destined to play each other in the first round. So it is tough. I'm really curious. If you were to give Masai Ujiri, Bobby Webster, Dwayne Casey some truth serum, like, here's a lemon drop shot. Congrats.
That's your shot?
No.
That's what you said.
No, I'm giving it to them.
Oh.
Here's your your shot of Jaeger.
That's even worse.
Here's a Jaeger bomb.
That's even worse.
And in that
12?
little Jaeger bomb, there's a little dab of truth serum. Just drop it right in there in the cup of energy drink. Because
Can't we just have a Jameson? Like, can't we just do a Jameson like a grown up?
You want to drink and then throw up?
Phew, that's not my style.
I wonder who they'd say they want. Like we've talked about this on previous shows, both podcasts and post game. I'm waiting for the time when, all right, you get to pick your opponent. You've got the belt.
I want that so
much. You
much.
pick the contender. We don't need Dana White to tell you who's the next fight on the card. You say, I want this person with the chance to advance on the line.
Man, there'd be so much disrespect in a move like the Raptors going out and just picking right away the Celtics, saying, you know what, you're beat up. We want to try to beat Marcus Smart back. We're taking the 2 seed round 1. Let's go.
Imagine a GM just stepping to the podium like Masai did and saying, expletive, fill in the blank of the city.
And that's how we started, that we kicked things off.
That's
I'm
how
down
we
with
started.
That. All right, let's get to some of these tweets. And again, we really want to talk about CJ Miles and Serge Ibaka and some of the stuff we saw from the bench tonight.
We don't want to talk about CJ Miles. We have no choice.
Yeah, I kind of want to talk about CJ Miles because I'm getting a little sick of CJ Miles, and I don't know what the solution is anymore. I'm thinking about it and watching every game, and I'm hoping something happens, but something's like, hit a shot, CJ Miles. If you're going to dribble, stop turning it over every single time. How about that? How about you make one good pass? Just do something. How about you play defense on one possession? Is that too much to ask for you to do one thing on the floor that's a net positive right now? Needs another dental surgery. I don't know what his deal is. John Paul Cody Cox at JP_Cody Cox. We talk a lot about Lowry and DeRozan's performances in the upcoming playoffs, but what about Casey matching up against other coaches? I think Casey and his coaching staff need to be the difference makers in the playoffs. Thoughts? You want to start with this?
Yeah. Part of the thing that scares me is not the Miami Heat team. It's Miami Heat coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
I think staffs in the playoffs matter. I think the Raptors get by the Pacers series not necessarily because the team was better. I think the staff was much better than Frank Vogel. And shortly thereafter, he didn't have a job.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
And he's probably not going to have a job next year either.
We'll see. We'll see. Jeff Weltman be like, yeah, actually, I remember you in a high leverage spot. Don't like what I saw.
This is inside, but he looks like Billy Duke, Frank Vogel, who works here. Do you see it? Yes, he does.
No,
yes, he does. I'll tweet it
They're
out.
both Caucasian males.
No.
That's pretty much the extent of
No, they look a lot alike. I'm telling you.
They look as much alike as you look like either of them.
No.
But no.
Racist.
No, it's not actually. They don't look alike. They don't look alike.
Okay, go back to your point.
I'm very comfortable with the job Dwayne Casey has done this year. And to be honest, in past playoffs, the Raptors didn't do well in the playoffs when they didn't, and I fight against that narrative because name me the team that they lost to that they should have beaten. Maybe Washington, but other than that, but he had to pull a lot of strings. Norman Powell in, Luis Scola out, deal with JV's injury, figure out a way that Bismack didn't kill you on offense, and so yeah, I'm very comfortable with Dwayne Casey in the playoffs. Will I take this Raptors coaching staff out head-to-head against the Milwaukee Bucks? Yes, sure, I would. So no, I have a full vote of confidence for DC.
Yeah, I got the same thing. I would say this. I think it's a little overblown, the whole what the Raptors drop in the late game for the final play. But I do think it's going to be important to see in the playoffs when they're in those close games what they do in the final few minutes. I think there's a really big difference. If they become predictable and they're just rolling screen and like ball screens for DeMar DeRozan over and over and over again for 3 minutes in a one possession game, that to me is a problem. That's showing that there isn't true signs of growth with the coaching staff and with the personnel. But if you start to see a more diverse offensive attack, then you're starting to see some growth. I think the last play of the game, that's just what happens. You give it to your best player, and that's the way it happens. What is also really comforting is that Dwayne Casey's had a real good grasp, as we said over and over, and I'm kind of piggybacking off your point of picking the right matchups in the right spots. He didn't do it against the Cavaliers. He didn't do it against the game where they lost to the Celtics. Like the most recent events. I thought that there was a little bit of confusion as to what they should have done. I thought that against the Celtics, they went too quickly away from what was working, which was their front court, and Dwayne ended up with like a younger look in the front court that didn't work as much, going small. And then against the Cavs, similar thing. I looked at it and said, I'm not sure these are supposed to be the 5 guys. I think you left Fred VanVleet on the bench a little too long. So we can sit here and criticize those couple of moments, but overall, the body of work tells me that Dwayne Casey has a pretty good idea of like who's going and who's the right guy to be out there. So matchup-wise and coaching-wise, that's going to be the most important thing for him, is figuring out what guys should play when, how many minutes he's going to chop down from the bench players so that he can elevate DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, or what are going to be the nights where he says and he's got he shows that he's still the boss, and he decides, you know what, Kyle, you're not performing tonight. It's going to be more DeLon Wright. DeMar, you're not performing tonight. It's going to be more Fred VanVleet. So that'll be interesting.
You mentioned diversifying the offense.
Mm-hmm.
Serge Ibaka, 25 points, most this year, most as a Raptor. He was the best player on the floor.
By far.
That is a story. However, in a night when Serge has 25 and your 2 All-Stars combined for 21, they haven't been shooting it well of late. That continued tonight. Are you more concerned that they combined for 21, or more encouraged that despite that they still won and they combined for 17 assists?
I think 8 of 28, anytime you look at those numbers for them combined, is not great. I'd like to see higher percentages because, again, these are 2 players who combined over their careers have a sub 40% field goal percentage. So would I prefer that DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry have better numbers heading in the postseason? Absolutely. I'd say this. We just saw Red Hot Kyle. It's been a couple of bad games for him. He's been spotty lately. He hasn't looked the exact same. Still 3 of 8. Today, all of his 3 field goals coming from behind the line. But I'm a little bit nervous about DeMar DeRozan cooling off lately and that the shooting has cratered. Because, again, that game against the Cavs, he went 2 of 3 from deep. But outside of that, he's shooting 25% from 3. That seems to be almost completely gone from his game. And he doesn't seem to be attacking the basket with as much ease right now. Like, you and I have noticed a couple of times watching games together that he seems to, for some reason, be making it more difficult on himself. And there are definitely times where it almost seems like he's put himself in a headspace. I'm passing tonight. I'm going to be passive. I'm going to move the basketball. I'm going to try to get others involved. And that's not necessarily the worst thing to try to get your teammates going. But I think it's better when you're playing your game and you want to see JV gets a touch and DeMar tries to find him for one. Or they want to get CJ Miles in rhythm at some point and try to get him an open look at 3. Same thing goes for Serge Ibaka right now. It feels like DeMar looks to me like he's already made up his mind on which nights he's going to be a passer to start the game or which nights he's going to be a scorer. And I'd like to just see him be comfortable playing good DeMar DeRozan basketball, the type of game that he had earlier in the season and more in the midway mark of the season when he was unquestionably the Raptors MVP and someone that was in the race for it. Quick back to the tweets. Brendan Delaney, our guy, we have to put him in because he's got perfect attendance and he uses the hashtag SNReps, so he jumps the queue. Need to cut down on turnovers. Lucky the turnovers were dead balls. A lot of positives, though. Pacers shot 30%. Serge has made up for the terribleness in the last 2 months with this stretch of good games. And OG was great on defense tonight. Let's talk about OG Anunoby's defense because I agree. He was great. OG was fighting through screens. He was active on Victor Oladipo. What did Oladipo shoot tonight? It wasn't very good.
He scored 5 points.
Yeah, he was dreadful. 2 of 9 from the floor.
28%.
And he had 2 assists. He was basically a non-factor, and I think a lot of that was OG Anunoby. I think OG's been showing a little bit more signs of life lately. Got to say, I don't trust him against big, strong threes, and I'm thinking of LeBron James when I think that, and I don't trust anybody against LeBron James. But he has looked a little bit more confident. He's been a little bit better on defense. He's been making at least 1 or 2 plays a game recently. So I think that's a really encouraging sign for a kid who hit the wall a month ago.
Yeah, one of your concerns with him is going to be what is he going to shoot from the floor? Shot 40% from the floor tonight. Not high volume, 2 of 5, but still stay in your lane. But more importantly, the defense. Early in the year, Oladipo cooked OG. Indiana grads, we see the transformation and the maturation of OG throughout the year. Mm-hmm. Now he comes back and has a game where he holds Oladipo to 2 points in the first half, 5 on the game, and that 5, that it was a 3 that started the second half, was over Serge Ibaka in a switch. It wasn't over OG. So really, you virtually pitched a shutout against the guy who's going to win Most Improved Player of the Year. I think it was a really, really nice, encouraging sign, not one-off as a game, but the trend that he's been playing better. He's been able to muster up back-to-back positive performances and contribute and look energetic on both ends. It's a good sign going to the playoffs because played 19 minutes tonight. In the playoffs, he's going to play 15, some nights 12. He's not going to be out there for long, but you just want him not to drag everyone else down when he's out there, to do some good things with his physicality, and he did that tonight.
At Zach Mougenot. I think I said that right. Looks like Mougenot. I went to French immersion, so if it's Mougenot, sorry, that's just the result of my education.
Well, no one knows how it's spelled, so just act like you said it correctly.
That's right. Is it time to have CJ out there, or is it time to just put him on the bench? He hasn't really lived up to the hype.
I'll just forego the 45 seconds allotted for me to talk about this, and I'll give it to you.
He hasn't really lived up to the hype, and Norm's productivity is increasing, so why have him out there as a lineup filler? Hashtag SN Raps. CJ Miles has been a problem. CJ Miles has absolutely been a problem as of late.
Tell him why you're mad, son.
Well, I'm mad because he's absolutely right. Zach's absolutely right. The hype was, this is the guy. If the cultural reset is going to happen, and Damari Carroll's leaving town and saying they don't trust anybody, well, here's a guy who you can trust. He is Mr. Trust. He's one of the best three-point shooters currently in the NBA. He's finally the dead-eye three-point shooter that's going to knock down everything for you. He is the answer to your prayers. And there was all this discussion of, should CJ Miles be at the starting lineup at the beginning of the year? He started that year, the season red hot. What did he have in that first game for the Raptors, the season opener? He hit everything from everywhere. Even in that game against the Rockets, he's had some big moments. The first road game against the Rockets, CJ Miles came in as the Rockets were making their push, and he knocked down a bunch of threes. He said, finally, the Raptors have this guy. They finally have their dead-eye shooter. And it's not been there lately. April, 30% from three. March, 32% from three. Overall, since the All-Star break, 32% from three. Another night where he was a non-factor. The thing is, too, with CJ Miles is, like, not only is he's turning the ball over more than he did before the All-Star game. He's scoring less. His field goal percentage all over the floor is down. The numbers across the board, you look at them, the only thing that's up is rebounds. Like, he's really not doing anything for you. The steals are down. The block numbers are down. He's fouling more. He just looks completely lost. And I don't know how to get him going because Casey continues to give him opportunities. Like, he's firing away. He's taken more three-point shots since the All-Star break since he was or more than he was before. He's shooting almost 9 threes a game. Like, you can't show more confidence in a player than continuing to say, let him shoot, let him shoot. Here's your shots, CJ. And tonight, they did the thing again where he didn't come off the bench right away. They did the Norm Powell. Let's see if Norm can give us a minute here. Let's see what Norm Powell can do. Let's slowly ease out Norm Powell. But CJ Miles, 19 minutes tonight. Norm Powell, 14. I think the gap is closing. CJ Miles is going to continue to get his opportunities because, again, they don't have a player with that gravity. I've mentioned this before with Serge Ibaka. Even when he's not going, he's still better to have out there for offense than, say, a Pascal Siakam because he's going to draw the defense out to the three-point line. Nobody's leaving CJ Miles. I don't care if he's 0 for 8 in a game. Teams aren't leaving him. But if he continues to be a turnover machine, if he continues to be someone who doesn't seem to appreciate that he doesn't have a dribble and that he's really not good at attacking the paint, if he doesn't start moving the basketball a little bit better and maybe cutting down on those three-point numbers until he figures it out, I don't know. I don't know if he doesn't lose more minutes. I don't know if Norm Powell doesn't get more opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, CJ Miles' free throw percentage down 7%. His three-point percentage down 5% from a year ago. And he's actually taking one more three a game than he was a year ago. So more shots, less makes, not a good formula. And I wonder if this is CJ Miles, and that actually last year was the anomaly. When you look at his three-point percentages since he's been kind of a guy who's going to play around, 19, 20 minutes a night with Cleveland, 41%, 43%, 39%, 40%. Last year jumps up to 43.4. and then back to 38%. I wonder if the thought that he was going to be someone who's going to take a high volume of threes and make almost half of them was a bit fool's gold, and it wasn't truly who he is as a player. Should be better than what we've seen, but maybe the expectations were a little too high coming in.
I still think he's a great shooter. I just think he's in a slump, and I don't know what I really do think that it's something right now in his head, and I don't like to do that of try to guess what's going on with players, but it's too weird to see a guy drop to 32% for this long of a stretch.
But for it to be a slump, don't you have to be doing the thing that you do well for a longer period of time than not doing it well?
Well, no, because his career, he's shot 36% from three.
But this, and for this year, he's shot.
He's right at his career
36. Average. But for this year, he's had long stretches where he hasn't been able to hit the side of the backboard. He's looked worse to me than at any point than he has in his previous years.
Yeah.
And so for the most part, I don't know if it's if he were to get hot, I would think that is the anomaly, not if he's continues to struggle.
You know what I think a little part of it is, though? I think a little part of it is that because C.J. Miles is the focal point offensively, or he was the focal point offensively for the second unit at the beginning of the season, that it's almost compounded. That when he's struggling, you're looking forward a little bit more. And he hasn't been as good when he's trying to force his offense. And some of the other guys in the second unit since he first started there have taken the reins as better offensive players overall. Like Fred VanVleet has become a better offensive player over the course of the season. DeLon Wright, same thing. Jakob Poeltl, same thing. Everyone has gotten better as the year has gone on, except for C.J. Miles. He's been the one guy that's dipped off a bit. So
who did you say tweeted that in?
What in?
That question. That comment.
I lost his name. I'm on to the next one. Zach Mujnat.
I think we found JD's burner account, ladies and gentlemen.
But
once a night, we get a burner tweet from JD.
I got many
Look
burner
at
accounts.
Zach Mujnat's tweets. He probably likes good show tweets all the time.
Hot seat. Let's go to this one. FR09_. Are you impressed defensively over the last two games? Seems like everybody is locked in and ready. #SNRaps. Yeah, they've been good, right?
Well, yeah, there's no other answer. You can't say you're not impressed.
No.
And the Indiana's on second night of a back-to-back.
And Celtics had no one.
Let's qualify that. And the Celtics were also on the second night of a road back-to-back, and you're going to lose your legs in that situation. No legs, no shot. However, holding Indiana to 25% from the field in the first half, 29% for the game. I mean, you have to like the fact that they're getting stops defensively because they're still struggling, if you ask me, offensively. But they're back to their identity defensively after they were in what I think we can now call a slump. That has to be a good sign going into the playoffs.
Yeah, again, I think it's a good sign because it is such an important part of the identity. But also, it's been two blowouts where you've had to rely on the bench and you haven't had to see crunch time minutes. And it has been against two teams that, one, missing a lot of players on a back-to-back, the other traveling to Toronto, one of the toughest places to play on a back-to-back. And they, like, who had any juice on the Pacers tonight? Like, nobody had energy. It was so lethargic. They made that one little run in the second quarter.
Sabonis was very
or that
energetic.
third quarter. Sabonis got barbecued in that game. Sabonis got slapped across his face that entire game. It was just slap of Sabonis after Sabonis slap. He finished 2 of 11 from the floor, and he had 3 rebounds.
He made some great passes out of the high post.
2 of 11. 2 assists, 3 rebounds. If you were ever somebody that was on the corner of, maybe the Raptors should have taken Sabonis over Poeltl. Maybe the Raptors need a little bit more power forward depth. They could have used the young Lithuanian to pair next to Jonas Valanciunas and make Leo Rautins the happiest man who ever lived. Oh, the stories Leo could tell you about those two boys playing together. But tonight, I thought Jakob Poeltl was the Raptors' best player in the first half. I really did. He was 5 of 5 in the first half. He had 10 points and 5 rebounds. He didn't even have to do anything the rest of the game. He just sat him down and was like, good job, Yak. You dominated Sabonis. You proved to Masai Ujiri. Masai Ujiri got to watch that game and say, good. Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
What he sounds like?
Yes, good. Was that Bug? So who's the Bug from? Family Guy. That's right. So, yeah, I thought it was a good game for Sabonis versus Jakob Poeltl. When we first were doing that mock draft, I said that the Raptors had to take Pirtle, but it was between he and Sabonis at the time. Like that was the pick.
I listeners of Free Association will remember, so I can't front. I was
that podcast.
I was Team Sabonis. I saw them play each other in college, and I thought Sabonis had the better one-on-one matchups, even though Pirtle had the better career. But more importantly, Sabonis was better in the tournament. I put a lot of stock in that. I can admit when I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'm the same way though. I put stock in the tournament as well. I put probably too much stock into it, and I put extra stock in my tournament thoughts ever since I watched Anthony Bennett for UNLV when they got knocked out in the first round, and they had all this hype behind him. And Anthony Bennett couldn't figure out how to score and how to do anything when they threw a zone at him and a couple of different looks, and he looked crappy. And I thought immediately, this guy shouldn't go number one. I'm a little worried about this guy. And ever since, even though I've had horrible other opinions about who would be good in the NBA from the tournament, I just always get to go back to that one. That's my confidence rock, where I just think back to that and say, yeah, no, you were right. You were right about that.
I mean, listen, for every Jimmer, there's going to be a Steph Curry.
It's so unforgivable that Jimmer Fredette went ahead of Klay Thompson and that the Sacramento Kings traded up to go get Jimmer when they needed a three. Eric Smith, radio voice of the Raptors, is working the sidelines for Sportsnet tonight. Always looks good in a suit. Cleans up very much in a suit. Eric Smith joins us now. How you doing, man?
Good. How you doing, guys?
Pretty good. A little more settled down, I think, after a couple of blowouts. We were just having a discussion about the defense and what you're trying to make of it over the last two games, because it was two teams that were both coming off of back-to-backs, and the Celtics were pretty beat up. But it's really hard to also take away from the Raptors considering the results.
Yeah, and you know, I kind of always tend to look at it, and I think I even said this the other day when we were talking on the afternoon gig as well. Like, I've always been, JD, of the opinion that you know, you can't kill a team if they don't take care of business, but then poke holes when they do. You know what I'm saying? Like, had Toronto gone out and had a poor performance against Boston, win or lose, like, oh, but how could they play so terrible defensively against a banged up team? Or same thing tonight. How could they not take advantage of a team on the back-to-back that came off, you know, a big-time emotional game beating Golden State? Well, they did what they were supposed to do. They dominated two opponents in the way that they were supposed to, especially on the defensive end, which is what we've been screaming for the last 2-3 weeks. Everybody wants to see better defense. They provide it, and thus I don't think it's then, you know, fair or right to go, well, but hold on a second. It did come against a banged-up team, and it did come against a team on a back-to-back. I mean, listen, if we want them to play better defense and we want to see them turn in better performances and we want them to see them win games that they're supposed to win, well, they've gone out and done that. And now, to me, it's about establishing, if you can, or reestablishing, I should say, the identity defensively that perhaps you lost or vanished from you for the better part of 2-3 weeks. Can you get it back now in these final, 4, 5, 6 games of the season?
Was that an impression of me?
Games and say that again?
Was that an impression of me when you did the whiny voice? That sounded kind of like me.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Bit. It was kind of intentionally unintentional, but I think it kind of rang.
Yeah,
through,
it just
right?
came through. It was like, oh wow, that hurt a little bit. I'll let Donovan.
I'm gonna work on it even more and see if I can just hone it. Truly, I gotta work on my Donovan though.
Eric, good luck with that. You talked about getting back to who they were really defensively, their DNA, and that's good to see. But they're still a bit out of character when it comes to taking care of the ball. 11 first-half turnovers again tonight. Is that a major issue for you heading into the playoffs, or just a blip when you know that Fred and Kyle are going to take care of it when it matters?
I'm not overly concerned about it, Donovan, but there's no doubt that it's uncharacteristic. And I think we saw that over the course of the season that, not only when you look at the numbers total for the year, but even just the ups and downs of the year, there were nights like this, and there were more nights like this than there were in previous seasons. And I think that's a product of the way that they've been trying to move the ball and share the ball and play that unselfish style. So it's opened the door to more turnovers and to more opportunities coming for the other team. When I look at a team like Indiana tonight, not to totally wipe the slate clean or make an excuse for the Raptors, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Indiana came into the game as number 2 in the league in terms of forcing turnovers. And they're a team that's been pesky and kind of jumping on the ball all this season. I think that's something that you can clean up as the playoffs come around in terms of just being more precise with your movement, not taking as many chances. Because that's the other thing tonight, too. that game was like, this was one of those wire-to-wire wins for the Raptors where they're up 17 early. They're up by 20-plus in the second half. I think you're kind of turning on the flash and dash a little bit. You're throwing up the lobs. You're trying to, the home run passes breaking out. You're taking some more chances in these type of blow-up games than you ordinarily would in a nip and tuck affair. So I think I think that's something that maybe gets inflated a little bit, and it's something that can be cleaned up come playoff time.
Raptors win. So the narrative, aside from Serge Ibaka being a prolific three-point shooter, is, well, look at Kyle and DeMar, 17 assists. This is the cultural reset of them being facilitators. If the Raptors lose this game, you well know the narrative would be Kyle and DeMar combined for only 21 points. Again,
Yep.
they're missing when you need them. Where does the truth lie? Somewhere in the middle?
I think it probably does lie somewhere in the middle because, I mean, you pretty much just said it, right? If you can still win a game, and again, granted, to go back to JD's point, or at least some of the fans' point, if JD was speaking on behalf of the fans, well, it's the second night of back-to-back against Indiana, or at least for the Pacers. You still blew out the opponent, went wire to wire for the win. We're up 17 early. I think the closest it got after that was 5 before Toronto put the foot down again, went up 11, went up 13, then went up going 20-plus in the second half. You thoroughly dominate an opponent, a team that's going to be a top 4 or 5 seed in the conference, a team that's been rolling over the last couple of weeks while you've been struggling. You dominate them with your 2 best scorers, your all-star backcourt, struggling both mightily in terms of their percentages, their scoring. That, to me, says this is a good, deep team that can beat you in so many different ways. And what's one of the reasons why they're beating you in so many different ways? Because of the ball movement that is coming from everyone, but also from that same all-star backcourt that, as you say, combined for 17 assists. The fact that they're willing to move the ball, the fact that they're able to move the ball, they're able to find teammates in good positions, they're able to find better shots and not just take it upon themselves. I think that's more a positive than anything else. Will you be able to do that, though, come playoff time and have, Lowry and DeRozan combined for, say, under 25 points total or something like that, but 17 assists and then still be able to beat Washington or Cleveland or Miami or Milwaukee? That will be a challenge. I think the scoring does need to increase a little bit come playoff time, but I think if they're moving the ball like this, they're not the same team, Donnovan, that they've been in the past. I think you guys would both agree to that they're more balanced overall, and there might not be that true third option every night, because every night the third option, the fourth option, the fifth option could be completely different because there's so many different guys that can beat you or that can step up and raise their games on any given night.
Be honest, Eric, you've never lied to me before. I don't expect you to start now. How often tonight were you refreshing, scrolling through your Sportsnet app, looking at the Philadelphia 76ers Cleveland Cavaliers score?
We didn't really watch the fourth quarter of the Raptors game. We're sorry. We didn't really watch. We were watching the Cavs.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I probably would have been doing the same, especially with the Raptors game kind of out of hand. To be honest, because you want the honesty, a lot. And part of the reason, too, is there was a dude sitting about 7-8 rows up, and I apologize, I don't know his name, but he's a regular. He's there probably, if not at every game, every other game. And he was screaming over the railings at me when it was, Philadelphia by 27 or whatever the hell it was in the second quarter and going into the half. And I had to kind of do a double take on my phone. I heard this guy kind of nod my head like, yeah, okay, yeah. I'm like, wait a second, did he just say what I thought he said? It's like 75-48 or something like that. I got to check this. And then I was watching actually the feed of the game on some dude's cell phone that was standing right beside me in the tunnel as well, when LeBron was fouled on that 3 and went to the line for 3 free throws and a chance to tie it. So no doubt I was refreshing and watching, and it put me at the top of the list amongst people that is not believing what Philadelphia has done right now with this unbelievable win streak they've gone on, and suddenly now taking over the 3rd seed in the East for now. And there's no doubt, and I hear folks loud and clear that I'm sure there's plenty in Raptorland that are going, you got to be kidding me if we've got to deal with Washington in round 1, who I think Toronto should thoroughly beat, but then possibly seeing LeBron James and the Cavaliers in round 2. It is going to be clearly there's a phrase I want to use that I can't. There's going to be a tightening of the screws, let's just say, for a lot of Raptor fans watching these final 3-4 games of the season going into next Wednesday and watching that race that not only exists at 3-4, but 6, 7, 8, because I mean we could see a ton of flip-flopping on a night-to-night basis before next Wednesday at midnight rolls around.
Yeah, 57 wins is an incredible accomplishment, and the potential to have 60 wins is an incredible accomplishment. Finishing first in the Eastern Conference, incredible accomplishment. We just had a caller we're not going to be able to get to, just calling in saying we should be celebrating more, that we should be celebrating finishing first in the East. And it's not that anyone's not happy about the Raptors or not acknowledging how good it's been, but yes, on this exact night to watch the Cavs probably miss out on, or basically almost seal up playing the Raptors in the second round, it does put a little bit of a damper on things, which is unfortunate.
I mean, I'm not sure if I'm totally sold on that yet, though, in the sense that there's still 3 games remaining, and it's a half game lead, and
it could. The Bucks are the hope.
It could, yeah, it absolutely could. And then from that standpoint, I would still say, and again, I think I might have said this to you yesterday when I was on in the afternoon. The caveat to all of this, and I'll repeat it again, is until somebody, whether it's Toronto or Philly or Boston or whomever it is, until somebody beats LeBron, LeBron is the favorite to win the East again to go to the NBA Finals.
Preach.
If Toronto, even as the number 1 seed, bows out in the second round to LeBron James on his own could win a series potentially. And the tough thing will be, and I don't know if I'm splitting hairs or doing the nip and tuck here, if Toronto were to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals and play LeBron James in the Eastern Conference Finals, whether they win or lose, and more specifically to my point, if they were to lose in 4, 5, 6, or 7, in my opinion, it's still not a disappointing season if you lose to a generational player in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Style points matter, though, there, right?
But absolutely. There's no denying that losing to that same generational player in the second round will certainly sting if you're bounced as the number 1 seed in round 2. It's the same team. It's the same generational player. It's the same scenario. But there's something about the conference finals, obviously, versus round 2 that just kind of, to me at least, makes it a little more palatable.
Agree. Totally agree. Because, again, even if you go there, that means you beat 2 different opponents, and then hopefully it means that you use some of those style points and you saw progress from years past, right? You have that opportunity to show people that things have changed.
But that said, right now, I'll ask you. I flip it on to you guys, and you know my answer because I said it to you yesterday, JD. If the playoffs started right now, and I mean it starts in essentially a week anyway.
Yeah.
If the playoffs started right now, whether it's round 1, whether it's round 2, or whether it's round 3, conference finals, if the Raptors are playing the Cavaliers right now, who are you taking to win the series?
Yeah, Cavs. It's impossible not to. At one point, I tried to make the case that the Cavs had more to prove after the deadline, when they added all those players and Toronto was at their peak, at the peaks of their heights. Well, it was basically after the Rockets game. They beat the Rockets, such a good team at home, and the Cavs were really still struggling with their identity and not really meshing. And all of a sudden there was questions of, what's their lineups going to look like? Can they get any stops? And I said, maybe the Raptors are the favorites. And then, they played each other twice, and it's impossible to deny it right now that it's LeBron. So
yeah, and so in saying that, and I think a lot of fans listening, I would hope or assume would agree in saying that, if it ultimately plays out that way, where you bow out in the second round, I don't know that we should be totally destroying this team, the Raptors, or break up the Raptors. They can't win. They can't beat LeBron. It's like, no, you just have proven you can't beat a generational player. It's you're stuck in an era just like so many teams were, like the New York Knicks that couldn't get over the Michael Jordan hump. But I will say, and again, as I said to you yesterday, JD, I think that absolutely I do the complete flip for any other team. Mm-hmm. I don't care if Philadelphia rolls into the playoffs, even as the number 3 seed, and they've won 14, 15 straight games.
Agree.
If you're the number 1 seed in the conference, and this is a young team that, they're playing bananas out of their mind, whether Joel Embiid is back or not, you've got to beat the 76ers. You've got to be the favorite team in that series. A banged-up Boston team without Kyrie Irving, you've got to win that series. Washington, I don't care about 3 years ago. The Wizards have been struggling down the stretch. You're a better team. You're the number 1 seed. You got to beat the Wizards. You got to beat the Bucks. You got to beat Miami. I mean, that's where you're at now. You are the number 1 seed. It's time to puff out your chest, and certainly I think that any loss to any of those teams outside of Cleveland certainly would be a disappointment. So hopefully Raptor fans see a nice long run. And I'm standing right outside the Maple Leafs locker room, standing right in front of the doors to the Maple Leafs locker room as I'm having this conversation. And hopefully folks in the city can appreciate the fact, and this is not to knock the Leafs by any means. They've had an incredible season themselves, and what a time to be a fan of, the Leafs, the Raptors in the last couple of years with the Jays, obviously before the dip last year. Sports in this city with FC and even the Argos for that matter. This is not something we're used to in Toronto. But other than going back into the original 6 days or I'm talking like current day, modern day NHL, if I'm not mistaken, we haven't seen Toronto Maple Leafs number one in the Eastern Conference. You've now got a number one team in the East, in an 82-game sport, in the top two sport, like with hockey and basketball. And I hope folks can appreciate what Toronto's done and at least relish the moment for at least a few days before the playoffs start next weekend.
I think they do. I'd like to think they do. We'll see. Again, it all gets a little tempered by Cleveland, but we'll see. Hey, Eric, great stuff tonight, man. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you Monday.
Okay, guys. Thanks.
Cheers. Eric Smith, radio voice of the Raptors. I think people do appreciate it. It's just, again, it's tough. Basketball's not, like, the difference between hockey and basketball, again, is that you get in the postseason in hockey and you can go. And it's not a surprise if anybody gets to the Stanley Cup final. In basketball, if you're not 1, 2, or 3, you're not making it. And there's a question as to whether the Raptors are 3 or whether they're 2. But yeah, it does. I'm sorry. I am excited tonight. I'm very happy that the Raptors have done this. It's a real accomplishment for them. It's a real franchise marker tonight. Someone tweeted in. I'm actually going to pull it up quickly. But someone tweeted Matthew H. Matt Hot Utterad. I can't read. Hey guys, big fan of the podcast. Do you think the Raptors will hang on an Eastern Conference banner, or what if they make the finals? I think they could hang a banner. I don't even think that it would be that embarrassing. To finish in the Eastern Conference is nothing to shake a stick at. Like, that's a real thing.
I wouldn't hang a banner.
You're just all about that championship.
I want winners.
What if the secondary part? What if they make the finals? Would you put an Eastern Conference Finals?
No.
Not a reminder that you
look at who you share the building with.
We're hanging banners won since there was 6 teams.
Sure, but they got a lot of banners up in there. We're hanging banners for Hall of Famers and for championships. So don't come to me with a division championship or Eastern Conference Finals participant.
How do you feel about football? Super Bowl or bust?
Any sport, championship or bust.
Listen, you're like James Harrison, except for like on steroids here with your no participation trophy.
Why? But why are we handling them with kid gloves? They're a part of a conglomerate.
It's not kiddie gloves.
Where TFC just put up a banner. The Argos just put up a banner.
You know what?
You're going to put up
Kevin Durant happened is because people like you were like, it's nothing. If it's a ring or the thing, it's like nothing else matters. Like, so he goes and makes a super team and ruins the rest of the league. Like, it's a good thing to win the Eastern Conference. It's a real accomplishment. It's like winning your division, except for it matters.
Celebrate it.
Make a banner.
Sell some T-shirts. Make a new program with the team celebrating on the front for the 7 people who still buy programs. But, you don't put up a banner, because if you do that, you are basically watering down when you actually get to celebrate winning a championship.
Nobody
and you put up a banner.
The 2 banners. No one looks at one banner and says, oh, that's not the championship. It's like, yeah, it's a nice reminder. You go to a Raptors game 15 years from now, we're a lot older doing this show. We decide, let's go to a game for old time's sake. And we see the banner and go like, oh, you remember? That was fun. That was nice. Bench mob.
So should the Warriors put up a banner for every time they won the West under Steve Kerr?
Yeah, why not?
So the Rockets put up a banner this year?
No, because you take it down when you win a title. That's the difference.
Just don't put it up in the first place. If you think you're a team who can win a title, why are you putting it up in the first place?
You're no fun.
No, I just don't. I don't celebrate mediocrity.
Where are we?
I want winners.
That's not mediocrity. Mediocrity would be hanging a banner for getting in the playoffs. We're back Sunday.
They kind of already did that 3 times.
We're back on Sunday. We're back on Sunday. We're going to talk to you after the Orlando Magic game. I don't think a single Orlando Magic fan will watch that game because they're all going to be watching Tiger Woods, hopefully.
And we'll
do something.
We'll be better at getting to your calls.
Maybe. No promises.
We will.
This is Raptors Post Game on Sportsnet.ca.